literally the day that we're supposed to close this deal, the seller passes away. You can do one of two things with problems, right? You can either let them knock you out of the box, or you can embrace them and use them as a learning experience. And what's great about California, what's also the challenge is, yes, property prices are higher, but rewards are higher, right? Like this house we got under contract, 600,000 SubTo, and it's worth 800,000.
Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. One of my very favorite people on the planet, Uncle Lanza, as we call him in SubTo. Also at Vincent Douglas _ on Instagram. We'll also put that link in the description down below. We're going to be talking about what this dude is up to. I mean, I've known him for 3 years. He does a lot of deals. You've done wraps, you've done lease options, you've done seller finance, you've done SubTo, you've done novation agreements, you've done fix and flips, you've done wholesale, you've raised money.
Yes.
You've invested in multifamily deals. Yes. You are an impressive individual.
Oh, well, you know, I learned so much of it from just hanging out with you. I'm just following in your footsteps.
You know, it's cool. We all get to hang out in this amazing community we call SubTo, and you've been such an instrumental part for growing it, and not just with helping other people do deals, but also teaching other leaders how to be leaders. And for a very long time, I would point everybody that would join SubTo, I'd say, follow what Uncle Lanza is doing in the NorCal group and emulate what the NorCal group is doing. And I appreciate you so much. Today, we wanted to break down a deal that you've done. I think you have a 6-figure wholesale deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's a cool story. So as you know, like we talk about squatting up with people, JVing with people all the time. And so I squatted up with another SubTo student who was doing door knocking, ran into this elderly lady who was willing to sell her house SubTo. And so when we got into this deal, it was definitely like a massaging, all about, you know, trying to help the person and trying to just do whatever we could to help the person. The lady had to be moved to another apartment, so we helped her get another apartment with her son. We paid for that. We did all that, and then in the process, we got her other house under contract.
Was her house that you guys were knocking the door of, was she in foreclosure, or was it just somebody had high equity? What was the reason why he knocked on that door? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, she was having a hard time paying the mortgage payment.
Okay, so she was falling behind.
Yeah, so we had to take that over, and also the house was in pretty bad shape, and she was also a hoarder, so the house was just full of
the
junk
trifecta. we call it the trifecta.
Yeah, and also she was in bad health as well, so it was so all kinds of stuff was happening here. So we got this property under contract, and we saw that we could fix and flip it. It was a SubTo contract, so the beauty of that, right, is like I don't now have to come up with a private money loan to buy that house. All I need to do is take over this.
So you're telling me that we can buy a SubTo deal and we don't have to hold it in our rental portfolio. We could actually control that debt and use it to go and fix and flip.
Yeah, I've done that many times. We call it subtail, right, in the community.
Subtail. Okay, great. So you look at it and you're like, okay, it's a subject to deal. You guys decide you're going to fix and flip it yourself.
That's what the thought is, except then we're seeing like we can walk away and make over 6 figures wholesaling it. So it's like, as you know from doing fix and flips, we all know anybody out there that does fix and flips. It's like, yeah, you can make money, but it's a long process and a lot of headaches.
Yes.
So
I feel like the lowest headache is going to be an assignment in any situation.
Exactly.
Like here, you deal with this. You make a little bit of money. I don't want to deal with the fix and flip.
Yeah, I mean,
they're painful.
Maybe I can make an extra 50,000, but is that extra 50,000 worth the time and effort? And no, not to me. It's like,
I think when people are brand new, the answer is yes. Yeah. Right? They look at that and they go, I want that extra $50,000 because that's in their mind, it's real $50,000. You're like, no. You have to go work really hard for that extra $50,000.
Yeah, and also think about this, like, yeah, I can get that extra $50,000 maybe 6 or 9 months from now, because in California, like flips generally take a longer time. Or I can get that 6-figure assignment fee and turn that into more money than the extra $50,000 within 6 or 9 months. So
you could assign another deal every single month if you just moved on and didn't put yourself through that strenuous, hitting your head against the wall on a big old flip.
Right. So if you're smart about it, you think like, okay, yeah, maybe I can make more money, but is it actually really worth it? And in actuality, can I really make more money? Because I can actually take that money that I make within 30 days and turn that money into more money. I mean, I could even just take that money and be a private money lender, and I could probably make at least 10, 12, 15% on it, or be a gator lender,
right,
and insert myself into a bunch of deals and make 20, 30% on those deals, or whatever the number is.
Insane. So you guys decide, hey, let's assign the deal.
Yeah. So we're like, let's assign the deal. So we get our dispo team out. We start looking for buyers, and we find a buyer that's willing to pay us basically like about $150,000 assignment fee.
What?
Yeah. So exactly, like this
You're
is,
like, I would have made $150,000 on the fix and flip. Now you're telling me you're going to pay me $150,000 on an assignment?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. I mean, it's definitely the biggest wholesale deal that I personally ever
That
done.
makes me feel like I never should have fix and flipped. I should have just said, I'm really serious about this. Like, thinking about this. Think about all the deals where I go, oh, that's a great deal. Don't send that out to our buyers. Let's just fix and flip that. That's low hanging fruit. I should have still sent that out to my buyers just to see what my buyers would have paid for it. I bet you there's 50 flips I ended up doing that I would have made just as much money on the assignment as I did on the fix and flip.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've done a couple of those since, and some of them have turned into where I have assigned it, and some of them have been like, I'm end up doing the flip on a few occasions, right? But I mean, the majority of the time is like, hey, if I can walk away with a pretty big assignment fee, like, why am I even fixing and flipping houses? Now, that being said, on occasion I still do, because the reward. There's one we just got subject to in Sacramento, California, and we thought about assigning it, but there's like $200,000 of equity in this house, and it's in a gated community. We got it under contract for $600,000, and we're literally right now spending $10,000, and it's going to sell for $800,000.
Wow. So you'll put it on the retail market. You won't even.
Yeah, we'll put it on the retail market.
Wow.
But it's a beautiful home in a gated community, really well kept up. So it's I could assign that, but there's so much in there that I'm not going to assign it. So, and it's also SubTo.
This is a common thing I hear all the time too. Is like, hey, I'm in California. Creative finance is illegal in California. Isn't that crazy?
That is so crazy. I mean, there are so many great, and what's great about California, what's also the challenge is, yes, property prices are higher, but rewards are higher, right? Like this house we got under contract, 600,000 SubTo, and it's worth 800,000.
So you guys will probably, after sales costs and holding costs and stuff like that, you guys will probably net $120,000 at least on that.
At least, maybe probably even more, because the repairs, they're only 10,000.
Wow.
And the holding costs are, the mortgage is pretty high, but it's 4,000. But we're trying to just get that turned around as quickly as possible. So,
wow.
Yeah. So to go back about this wholesale.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go back to the story. So we get it under contract. Everything's looking good. And we open up with a title company, a good title company in California that knows their stuff as far as creative deals goes. And everything's going smoothly. Everything's looking good. And literally the day that we're supposed to close this deal, the seller passes away. Like, literally.
No.
I'm not exaggerating. This is the craziest thing. I get a call.
The day.
Yeah. I get a call from the JV partner that I was working with on this, and he's like, you're never going to believe this. We're supposed to close today. The buyer is ready to sign. He's at the title company.
Oh, my word.
So that throws us into a tizzy of like, what in the world do we do now? So this is, I mean, you teach this all the time, and I really believe it. It's like, you can do one of two things with problems, right? You can either let them knock you out of the box, or you can embrace them and use them as a learning experience.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is crazy, but like, there's a large reward down at the end of the road. So I'm going to walk down this road.
And a great story.
Yeah. And so I'm going to walk down this road and see what happens. So in the course of finding out stuff, we found out that the seller did leave a trust. The trustee is like her stepdaughter. And so we're like, okay, let's try to track that down. We tracked down the trust documents. So now we find out, where's her stepdaughter? Her stepdaughter is in a hospital in Las Vegas with COVID.
Wow.
So we're like, wait, how are we going to get to the stepdaughter? She's in the hospital with COVID.
Just FYI for the people listening to this, like, it is a crazy story. But then you also got to remember that there's even crazier stories that you've been through. Like these crazy stories are pretty commonplace, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is great. So
I mean, you have some crazy stories. I've heard you tell some.
I've
really
never
crazy
had
stories.
I've never had a seller die on the day I'm supposed to close escrow. This is crazier than most of my stories. So you get a seller, the seller passes away, you find the trust documents, you track down the trustee, you find out she's actually in a hospital. And anybody that actually went into the hospital during COVID, the percentage was really high that they were actually going to pass away if you went that far.
Right, right. And obviously we can't connect up with her, right?
Yeah,
Because she's in the
like,
hospital with COVID. You can't go see her. So
the universe is like, you really want to make this money?
I was determined. I was absolutely determined to see this deal through to the end. And so anyway, we find out she's in the hospital. Fortunately, she did not pass away. She recovered from COVID, went back to LA. We get in touch with her. We negotiate with her that whatever the seller was going to get, all the money and everything would now go to her. And so we contact the lawyers, find out what we need to do. And there's some documents the lawyers have us sign and everything. And so now we're about to close. And we find out that the buyer has a hard money loan that he's going to buy the property with, which is typical, right? But the hard money lender will, on the day that we're supposed to close, or like 48 hours before we're supposed to close, he will not do the loan because he would be in second position because now
there's a SubTo in first position.
Right. There's a SubTo in first position and there's a solar lien that's in second position.
So he'd be in third position.
So now we've decided this is not going to work as a SubTo deal. It's going to have to be a cash deal, right? And so the buyer's fine with that. He ran his numbers. I mean, even when we sold it at a 6-figure profit, he was still able to go in there and make a good profit in the end as well. So we call our title company, and this is one thing. You have a great title company there in Arizona with Elaine, I think.
Yeah, Eileen. Yeah,
Eileen. I'm sorry, you know her better than me, so I didn't get her name right, but you did. If you have the right title company, they can be invaluable. So we're like, okay, what do we do? How are we going to do this? So she's like, we're going to call the solar company. We're going to tell them to temporarily take the lien off.
Ooh.
And then we're going to place the hard money lender in first position. And then the solar company will come back in second position. So I personally wouldn't have thought of that. Like, thank you for the title officer who told us that. So we...
Meanwhile, you got escrow officers that are like, we don't know what SubTo is.
Yeah.
And you got this escrow officer that's like, let's temporarily remove a lien just to re-subordinate it behind the hard money loan.
Yeah. And the solar company had no problem with that.
So cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
It makes you want to hire that person full-time on your team.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If you're that creative, why don't you just come on our team?
When that happened, I had that exact thought. I was like, man, this title officer is so creative. And they're going above and beyond, like helping us. I mean, really, like for what they got paid, like they went so much above and beyond. But I mean, if you have a good title company, if somebody that you work in the title, it's invaluable. It's like having, lawyers on your team and title companies and just all the people that you have on your team. If you have good people on your team, it's amazing what they can do for you. Anyway, so good ending to this story. We finally, after we did all that, the hard money lender agreed. The buyer bought the property. We end up wholesaling it. And, there was some, actually even the hard money lender was kind of hemming and hawing because they're like, why are they making so much money on that? But the fact of the matter was that we could still make that 6-figure assignment fee. And the buyer could still make a good profit. From what I understand, I didn't follow the whole deal, but the buyer just went in, did some, not a full rehab, but did some cleaning up and re-landscaping, painting, and all this kind of stuff. Basically, like some cosmetic fixing,
little lipstick,
and still made like a good profit on the end.
Wow.
But anyway, we closed it, 6-figure wholesale deal, amazing, like crazy story, but.
What's funny though is like there's 5 or 6 things that this video should show people. Number 1, you can do creative finance deals anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 2, there's creative ways to take liens off a property if you have the right escrow officer.
Yeah.
But I would say the most important thing, number 3, is most people would have quit when that lady died.
Yeah.
They would have been like, deal's dead. This sucks. We don't know what to do. You guys had to track down her trust documents. She didn't provide those to you.
No. And
You guys
there's,
had to track those down.
yeah, like who's the lawyer that has them? What, yeah, like all that. We had to spend a lot of time.
Any other newbie that's just starting in this business and be like, my deal's dead, I don't know what to do. You guys were determined, man.
Yeah.
So I know your business is probably 50, 60% of it is helping other people get their deals done across the finish line. How can people work with you? Is it Instagram? Is it email? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hit me up on Instagram, again, it's my first and middle name, Vincent Douglas _ We also have a website. It's lonzapartners.com. So it's LANZA partners, PARTNERS.com. And you can connect up with me there. We have a link where you can submit deals to me there. So
wow, technology.
you want to work together? We can do it. Yeah,
I know. We have you guys.
We have an amazing integrator.
Amazing, brother. I love you.
I love you too.
Appreciate you guys. Follow Uncle Lanza. You do have a YouTube channel.
Well, I do, but it's not super active, but it will be active.
He's going to start getting active. He does use his Instagram, so DM him over there. Also, lonzapartners.com. Submit deals. So if you guys have stuff, you're like, I want you to buy the deal, or Instagram him and go, hey, I need help with a lead. I'm this close. I know the seller is open to creative terms, but I'm not a SubTo student. I don't know how to do this. Work with these guys. These guys are awesome. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks.